because it's sort of unique, it has a unique taste, and it has a unique story. In grapes, there are hundreds of different types of grapes out there in the world. And there are more being created every year by various universities. They're hybriding, they're crossbreeding, they're cloning, and they're coming up with different grapes. Everybody's looking for that perfect grape that creates that, it grows well, yields well, and produces that perfect wine. Well, they've been doing that for 1,000 years or so, and nobody has the grape yet. So there's a whole lot of different ones out there on the market, and a lot of them, like I said, are being hybrided, crossbred. Well, recent history isn't the only time crossbreeding and cloning began. It's been going on for quite a while. One of the early famous hybriders in this country was Thomas Jefferson, that he crossbred a lot of American and European grapes, and he was one of the first hybriders. Then some other ones came to be in the mid-1800s, and one of them was a guy named Rogers. He lived in Springfield, Massachusetts. And Massachusetts is definitely not a grape growing region, but this is where the guy happened to live. And he developed 36 grapevines by crossbreeding different varieties of grapes that were in the market at the time. Well, he created one called Agawam. Well, he called it Agawam. He named it after a town in Massachusetts. The 36 grapevines he developed, he selected half of them, 18 of them, named each one of them after a town in Massachusetts, but then he sold the rights to his grapevines to a seed catalog company. The seed catalog company went out of the business by the 1860s, so they held the rights to that grapevine. So at the turn of the century, when a lot of nurseries were being established to propagate grapevines, it wasn't on the market. So the turn of the century vineyards that were established, this grape was not available, so they selected other ones. But still, some Agawam got out, and they were planted here and there, and they fell by the wayside because nobody knew what it was. So about 12 to 14 years ago, this old grower in Madison, Ohio, called me and asked me if I wanted to buy his Agawam grapes. At that time, I didn't know what Agawam was. I called the university, Ohio State, Worcester Research Center, and says, "What can you tell me about Agawam?" So they gave me the history, and they said there's, according to the agricultural census, 600 vines left commercially grown in the United States. And there's one guy in Madison, Ohio, has 400 of the 600 vines. I said, well, he's the guy who called me, apparently. So I called the old man back and says, I'll take your grapes. So I wasn't even familiar with it. He says, a little red grape. I said, well, I'd never even seen them. So I bought them, I made a wine out of it, and it comes out very unique. It's got I try to make a white out of it, I cold press it, so it has a little bit of color to it because it is a red grape, and I don't use any chemicals to bleach the color out. So you won't find it real white, it'll be sort of shades of pink, orange, straw color. Fruity beginning, herbal, spicy finish. The clone that the guy used was supposedly Carter was the mother grape, which nobody even knows what a Carter is now. The conclusion is it was a native New England grape, crossbred with the Hamburg clone, which was probably referring to German grape. This old fellow, I said, well, when did you plant these? This is an old grape. He said he didn't, his father planted them. They've been on his site 108 years. And he still sells them to him. He just delivered them a couple weeks ago, this year's crop. He's up to upper 80s. He sold a lot of his farm to a super Walmart and a Lowe's and what have you. He doesn't need any money, but he still loves to grow the grapes. And he still brings them to me. Knowing that the future of those grapes is limited due to his age and his lack of need for any resources, I got cuttings from him a few years ago, started them. So I have a couple hundred vines here, and I located a couple hundred vines in another vineyard that were mixed in with Concord. So I'll still have a source when he dies or quits farming. And it was encouraging a couple years ago, Michigan State did a research project on heritage grapes. Agawam is in this study base. So a nursery in New York State reissued Agawam grapevines as a commercial vine again. Well, I just got their catalog. Agawam's gone now.
Oh, jeez.
It was, so for 2 years it was offered, now it wasn't offered for the spring. They're either out of it because the demand is so high because of mine, or or they decided nobody was buying it because they never heard of it.
Yeah, probably so, yeah.
So it's very unique, totally interesting, and you most likely, you won't taste it any other place, so that's why I served this one.
Show them how to open that,
Oh, okay.
Fred, they've not seen an Aso before.
Well, this is a synthetic cork, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this type of also cork puller, I put the prongs between the glass and the cork. Then I rock. This could be a mistake here, put it straight on this one. Okay, between the cork and the glass. I rock it down like a rocking horse. Goes down. I twist and pull. That's it.
Yeah, they're nice.
You don't chew up the cork. And it works about 99% of the time.
If you ever have an old bottle of wine, they're good to use too, because a lot of old corks deteriorate. So that if you ever open up your dad's little collection in the basement, which I didn't tell you to do, but I would do that, that's what you want to use there. So.
And actually, you talk about collection in the basements.